everybody. Thanks for stopping by my channel again, Pete's Snakebite Kit, and taking a look at this video we've got today. This one's about the engine that's going in the Cobra, and down to 48 days to delivery. Kind of getting antsy about that. Anyway, let's talk about the engine. You saw the unveiling of it a couple seconds ago on the video, and pretty happy with this engine. Haven't ran it, obviously, but I'm pretty happy with the choices that I've made, and you know, some stuff I built in the past. I kind of think I know where I'm at on this, and of course, watching a lot of videos, a lot of dyno tests, and you know, online warrior stuff. I think this will work. So here's what we did. It's a 408 Windsor. A couple of weeks ago, we talked about small block Ford engines, big block Ford engines, and hopefully got you kind of grounded on what those are. So got a 351 Windsor block. It's a 1969 block. It was standard, never been touched or anything. So got that tested and it all looked good. It's a 4-inch bore stock. It's 30,000 silver, so it's a 430 bore. It's got a 4-inch stroke crank in it, so it's a little bit longer than stock. That gets us to the 408 cubic inch. The connecting rods are a little bit longer than stock. They're 6.2 inch. Generally, the longer the connecting rod is, the better the engine works, the more efficient it is, and the less scraping angle you have with the crank trying to push the piston into the cylinder wall and so on. That stroke with this rod gives us a 1.55 connecting rod ratio. We'll talk about that a little later. The longer the better for the most part. 1.65 is optimum, but there's some reasons you can't necessarily have a 1.65 in everything you build. Like I said, it's a 408 Windsor. I've got a set of AFR CNC ported cylinder heads. They're the 195, not the biggest thing they make by any means. What's really cool about a CNC ported cylinder head, somebody else did all the hard stuff. So what I mean by that is they get a set of cylinder heads and they flog them, they flow them, and then they put it on a dyno to see if the flow numbers they thought were really awesome actually are in a dyno. Then they put it in a car and see if the dyno actually translates into the real performance that they want and so on. Then once they have this head ironed out and said it works, then they can put it on CNC machine and replicate it by just plugging it in, plugging the numbers in, and it ports it. To do a set of heads like this I've done a number set of heads. I mean, 100 hours in it. It takes a lot of time, and it's nasty work. I mean, you're breathing iron filings or aluminum filings, depending on what you're working on, and it's nasty. So didn't have to do that. Really like these cylinder heads. Got an ISKI hydraulic roller cam. So it's not huge, pretty aggressive. We'll talk about some details on that. The relationship between those two, I think it'll work pretty well. Put a set of roller rockers on it from Howard's, or the stock ratio 1.6. And where I've got the piston set in the deck height, and this thing maps out to just a click over 10.5 to 1 compression. With an aluminum head with regulated fuel system with the injection, I'm sure I'm gonna be able to run pump gas, no problem. Speaking of that, I've got a Holley EFI. So it's a sniper. Looks kind of like a carburetor. Regular air filter fits over it. It looks more like a regular old 60s type engine with that on. Victor Jr. single plane intake on it. Electronics are from MSD. You know, they've been around forever, and their stuff's very well tested. And I've got MSD distributor. It's a billet distributor with no vacuum advance. Don't need it on this setup. Their blaster tube coil. And then their ignition box with a rev limiter. It's a stick shift. Probably a good idea to always have a rev limiter. So that's what this thing is about. I'll give you a closer look at the engine here. Okay, so here's what it looks like. The Windsor 408. You can see the single plane intake on it. Holley Sniper EFI. MSD electronics. I wanted to go with kind of stock looking pulleys and stuff, and that underdriven pulley is exactly what would have been on like an early Shelby Mustang, or that's the part number at same dimensions as it was on my Boss 302. So I kind of like finding one of those. I've got my bolt-on oil gauge there. With the speed wrench, this thing's got 65 pounds of oil pressure, so I'm pretty happy about that. And back here we got the transmission, Tremec, 5-speed. It's a Tremec 600, should hold 600 pounds of torque, which we're gonna be under that unless we use a power adder, which my wife doesn't want me to do. You know how that works. So that's what this thing looks like. Really happy with it. Can't wait to get smoke in the pipes on this thing, see what that sounds like. Gonna really try hard to wait till the car is up and running so I can start it and drive it, put a load on it, get the rings broke in. Man, it's gonna be tough. As soon as I got a chassis to set this in, I'm gonna wanna start it up and make noise. So we'll see how my patience works on that. Anyways, hope you enjoy this, and we hope to see you on the next video. Thanks.